Right, so today we're going to be talking about two different ways that a falconer will typically raise his or her birds. Now, there's two different techniques when it comes to working with raptors, and they're called chamber raised or imprinted raised. And each one of them has various drawbacks and benefits. When we use the term chamber raised, we're talking about a bird who was raised by his parents until he was fully feathered, he or she was fully feathered. And at that point, they begin the training. Now, that training can be a little bit more difficult because the bird is not used to people. And that's where we start utilizing pieces of equipment like the hood that you've seen in any Renaissance festival. And to train that bird, that usually requires hours and hours of work where the falconer gets that bird used to being in the human world and has to get them used to eating on the glove. And all of that can be very difficult. However, a benefit to a chamber raised bird is that the bird is silent most of their life. They don't beg for food. And that bird still has a healthy fear of people. And now, when I say fear of people, that simply means that the bird won't be dangerous. And even lay people know that animals who have lose their fear of people can actually become dangerous, and that's something that can absolutely happen to birds of prey. And Kisses here, he was chamber raised. That's why I have him today. He's a lanner falcon. But there's also imprinting. Now, imprinting is when we intercede and we take the chick or the baby bird at a young age away from its parents to get them used to people. Now, before you decry that, remember, we take puppies, we take kittens, we take young horses away from their parents at a young age also to get them used to the human world. When we talk about falcons or birds of prey, people get very upset when they hear that. So that's what imprinting is. And this guy here is Baby Viking. He is a 3-week-old gyrfalcon who's in the process of being imprinted. He's learning about the human world. And the benefit to imprinting is that the bird has really no fear of people and isn't afraid, and he's essentially trained. We don't have to keep that bird on a glove when he's full grown for hours and hours and train him to eat in front of people and eat on the glove. He already does it second nature because he's been imprinted. So it can facilitate training. For a bird that's going to be free flown, it's actually an extra security layer because the bird is so imprinted and attached to its trainer and to people, to its falconer. Losing that bird is much more difficult than losing a chamber raised bird. However, a problem that can come from imprinting a bird is that you can inadvertently train a bird to scream its head off anytime it sees a person. So to imprint a bird, you have to do it very carefully. You have to know what you're doing. And one of the ways we can do that is by housing the bird in an enclosure where it can see everything. Sometimes raptors are kept in a solid-sided enclosure. Sometimes raptors are kept in an open enclosure. And this way, they see people walking around all day long, and they know every time they see a person doesn't mean that they are going to be fed. So with an imprint, we raise them in usually a screen mesh or a plexiglass enclosure or enclosure with lots of windows where they see people. Chamber raised birds, because they are not as used to people, we usually want to keep those birds in a solid-sided enclosure, and that way they're not disturbed as much. So I hope you learned a little bit about the difference between chamber raised birds and imprinted raised birds.